Has evidence in a high-profile murder case been mishandled, misplaced, or even stolen? The Pawnee County Sheriff says yes. He says the county-issued gun belonging to the late Pawnee County Sheriff Dwight Woodrell has been missing since Woodrell was murdered in 2001. He also says Woodrell's personal gun was supposed to be securely stored as evidence by OSBI, but mysteriously got moved. News on 6 crime reporter Lori Fulbright investigates.
The Glock 45 was issued to Sheriff Woodrell 2 weeks before his murder. Where that gun has been for the past 9 years and where it is right now, well, that's a mystery. The current sheriff says he's been trying to solve that mystery for years. He says no one seems to care that it's missing, and he doesn't understand why. Current Pawnee County Sheriff Roger Price came into office 3 years after Sheriff Dwight Woodrell was murdered. A state audit of the office at the time revealed missing items, including Woodrell's duty weapon. Sheriff Price began investigating since he could be held accountable. What he found makes him believe that gun was stolen, but he says he can't get anyone to listen.
Even after I told him.
Why do you think nobody seems to care about this but you?
I don't know.
2 deputies swear they saw Dwight Woodrell's Glock 45 in his car, under his hand, in his holster, the night he was murdered, October 13, 2001. One deputy wrote it in his statement right after the murder, and when asked just 2 weeks ago, said again he was positive. The other deputy had moved away, so Sheriff Price called him and recorded the conversation, and he too was confident it was the Glock he saw.
Are you sure that was a Glock 45 laying in that floorboard? He said, yeah.
Reports show 2 days after Woodrell's murder, the OSBI went to the record yard and got his car and inventoried it. There was no Glock 45 found in it, just his personal gun, a 9mm Smith & Wesson.
OSBI didn't catch that.
OSBI says there was nothing to catch, that the deputies were mistaken. It was dark. They were stressed. They didn't actually see the Glock. It was never in the car. OSBI says what they actually saw was Woodrell's personal gun, a 9mm Smith & Wesson. 5 months after the murder, the Glock was reported stolen by then Under Sheriff Brian Hill, who says his boss at the time, Sheriff Don Swieger, told him to do it. Sheriff Price says the only person who knew the gun was missing at that time is the person who took it, and he believes the evidence points to Don Swieger. Even Swieger's former undersheriff seems to agree. He is currently in jail in Kansas and wrote this statement that says Swieger is a diligent firearms collector and would be capable of removing that firearm due to his love of firearms and items associated with historical value.
Why does he want the gun? History. Intriguing. Archive. He's that kind of guy.
Swieger is now Bristow's police chief. He told me he can't remember how he knew to report the gun stolen, that maybe the DA or OSBI told him to do it. But the DA and OSBI both say they didn't. Swieger says he doesn't have the gun, doesn't know where it is, and is shocked his former undersheriff would say such things about him. And most agree there's no love lost between Swieger and Price after their bitter election campaign. Sheriff Price says he contacted the OSBI twice for help with this missing Glock, but they weren't interested.
Without any outside help, where'd I go with it?
The OSBI says Price brought up his suspicions, but embezzlement by a county employee has a statute of limitations of 5 years, and it had already been 6. Now Sheriff Price says he has another mystery on his hands, and this one involves the personal gun of Dwight Woodrell, the 9mm that was in his car. The OSBI says they turned over that gun and all the other evidence in sealed evidence bags to Price's office in 2006. But Price says when they opened up that bag, the gun wasn't there.
Well, now I've got 2 guns that I can't count for.
This letter shows Woodrell's widow has the 9mm. She tells me former Sheriff Don Swieger gave it to her in 2003 or 2004. The OSBI can't explain how that could happen, since their records show they had the gun until 2006. So Sheriff Price says once again he's getting the runaround and no answers.
It sounds to me like everybody's trying to cover everybody's butt, what I think.
Mrs. Woodrell believes all this is old news and that Sheriff Price is only bringing it up now as a smokescreen for his own troubles. Sheriff Price has been charged with stealing a trailer and he's being investigated by a grand jury. Price says, though, he's been looking into this case for years and feels he's run out of options other than going public. He says his questions about these guns have ruffled a lot of feathers, and he believes those people are now responsible for some of his current problems. So did the killers take the gun from the car that night? Was it ever there? Is it in someone's closet as a keepsake? We may never know. Lori Fulbright, the News on 6 tonight.
After our initial conversation with Swieger, we called him back last night and today for more clarification, but he did not return our calls.